The Combat Academy of Nova Spire was not made for the weak. It floated high above a red desert planet, glowing like a steel fortress in space. Inside its shining halls trained the strongest fighters from 100 alien worlds, creatures built for war, born with claws, scales, or metal skin. Among them walked a small human girl named Rena Vale. She said very little. She never laughed. She never joined any group or team. While others bragged about their combat victories, Rena just sat quietly in the back, her eyes calm and unreadable. No one understood why a human was allowed into the elite academy. Humans were known as weak among the stars, too emotional, too fragile, too slow. Even the instructors whispered behind her back, calling her a charity recruit. On her first day in combat tactics class, the students trained under instructor Garak, a tall, muscular warrior from the Tarnok species. His kind were known as apex hunters giants who had won wars before they were old enough to walk. His armor was made from living plates that moved with him, and his eyes glowed gold with pride. Garak looked at Rena and smirked. "So, Earth finally sends a child to play soldier," he said loudly, so everyone could hear. The class laughed. Rena didn't respond. She simply tied her dark hair into a knot and stood in formation. Her silence only made them mock her more. When it came time for sparring practice, Garak chose partners. Every alien student showed off their strength punches that cracked the floor, strikes that shook the room. And then, finally, the instructor called her name. "Rena Vale," he said. "You will spar with me." The class burst into whispers. "Is he serious?" One alien hissed. "She'll break in seconds," another said. Rena stepped forward, still silent. She bowed once, the way humans did before a fight. Her expression stayed blank, almost emotionless. Garak circled her, his steps heavy like thunder. "I want to see if humans have improved," he growled. "Try not to die too fast," he lunged. A blur of motion, his fist the size of her head, cut through the air. But Rena wasn't there. She had moved, not fast like lightning, but precise. She stepped aside, letting his punch miss by a hair. Then, with a simple twist of her body, she touched the side of his neck. Not a hard strike, not even a full hit, just one quick, controlled motion, and the apex warrior collapsed. For a second, the entire training hall froze. The other students didn't understand what they had just seen. Garak lay on the ground, gasping for breath, unable to move his arm. Rena calmly stepped back. "Your guard was open," she said softly. The silence broke with shocked voices. She dropped him. No way, he's an apex warrior. How did she even move like that? Garak forced himself up, his pride burning hotter than pain. "Lucky hit," he spat, glaring at her. "Again." But Rena shook her head. "No need," she said. "The result will be the same." That calm tone made everyone uneasy. There was no arrogance, no fear, just simple confidence. Later, in the locker area, students whispered about what happened. Some said she cheated, others said she used human tricks. But deep down, every one of them felt a strange chill. Rena walked past them quietly, ignoring their stares. Her hands didn't shake, her heartbeat didn't rise. It was as if fighting a giant had meant nothing to her. In her room, she sat by the window, watching the stars outside. The reflection of her face showed no emotion, but deep inside, she remembered something. A cold voice from the past. "Fear is a chemical, Rena," the voice had said, and we removed it. That was all she remembered from the Project Ares facility, the human experiment that had built soldiers like her. Soldiers without fear, without hesitation. Soldiers meant to survive any war, but no one here knew that. To them, she was just a strange, quiet human who moved like a ghost. Across the academy, Instructor Garak stood alone in the arena, rubbing his neck. The mark from her touch still burned. He replayed the moment again and again, searching for the flaw. But there had been none. He clenched his fists. "No human should be that strong," he growled. "No human should fight like that." The Academy's eye surveillance recorded everything. Later that night, the data reached the hands of the Command Council. The footage showed Rena moving inhumanly calm, her eyes fixed and cold. The commander paused the video on her face. "Find out where this girl came from," he ordered quietly. "And why Earth sent her here, outside, in the darkness of space." The human girl slept peacefully, unaware that her quiet victory had already started a storm that would shake the galaxy.
The next morning, Nova Spire buzzed with rumors. Every corridor, every hall, every training room whispered the same name: Rena Vale. No one could believe what had happened. A human girl had dropped a Tarnok Apex warrior in front of everyone. And she had done it without emotion. The other cadets avoided her now. Some were afraid, others were jealous. When Rena walked through the halls, the sound of conversation always stopped. Alien eyes followed her, studying every small movement she made. But Rena didn't care. She followed her routine, training, studying, eating alone. Her expression never changed. Instructor Garak, on the other hand, had not slept. His pride had been shattered. For a Tarnok warrior, losing to a human was shame worse than death. He had rewatched the combat footage dozens of times. There was no trick, no hidden weapon, just perfect timing and control. During the next class, Garak tried to ignore her, but his students kept glancing at Rena, waiting for another miracle. It made his temper boil. "Focus," he roared. "Do not stare at her like she's some kind of legend." The class went quiet. Rena stood still, saying nothing. After training, an alien cadet named Larak, tall and scaled with green armor-like skin, approached her. "You embarrassed the Tarnok," he hissed. "You think that makes you strong?" Rena looked up at him, calm as ever. "No," she said softly. "It means he underestimated me." Larak sneered. "Fight me, human. Let's see if you can drop me too." But Rena just walked away. "You're not my target," she said. That short sentence spread through the academy like fire. Not my target? What did she mean? Who was her target? Later that evening, Rena was called to the command office. Inside sat Commander Thal, a gray-skinned alien with 4 glowing eyes. He studied her quietly. "Rena Vale," he began. "Your performance yesterday has drawn attention from many, including people outside the academy." He leaned forward. "Where did you learn that technique?" Rena met his eyes. "Earth Defense Academy," she answered plainly. Thal nodded, but he didn't believe her. He had already checked. There were no open records of any Rena Vale on Earth's public systems. Her file was locked, classified by something called Project Ares. Even his high-level clearance couldn't open it. "You're hiding something," he said slowly. "I'm following orders," Rena replied. The commander's eyes narrowed. "Whose orders?" She didn't answer. Thal sighed. "You're dismissed, for now." As she left, Thal activated a private line. "This is Commander Thal," he whispered. "We may have found one of them." Outside, Rena walked into the night air. Above her, the Academy's shield dome shimmered against the stars. For a long time, she stared at the darkness. Somewhere far beyond those stars was Earth, a planet forgotten by most of the galaxy, but not by her. Days passed, but the whispers didn't stop. Across the galaxy, alien networks replayed the footage of a human defeating a Tarnak warrior. The Tarnak clan saw it as an insult, a wound to their honor. One morning, Nova Spire received a transmission. It was from the Tarnak High Council. They demanded an official rematch, a duel to restore their pride. If the Academy refused, the Tarnak would withdraw all their warriors from the Alliance. The Academy's leadership was trapped. Refusing could start a political crisis. Accepting could kill Rena. In the meeting hall, Commander Thal looked at Rena. "Do you understand what this means?" he asked. Rena nodded. "Yes. If you lose, they will say humans are weak. If you win, they may call for war." Rena's calm eyes didn't waver. "Then I must win." The duel was scheduled for the next rotation. The arena would be filled with students, teachers, and live broadcasts across several systems. The Tarnak sent their chosen champion, General Korvac, one of their deadliest warriors. He was 3 meters tall, built like a living tank with bone plates running across his body like armor. When the day arrived, the crowd was huge. The air hummed with tension. Some cheered for the human girl. Others wanted to see her crushed. As Rena entered the arena, the lights dimmed. She wore the same black combat suit, unarmed, calm as always. Korvac stood opposite her, breathing heavily, his body glowing with bioenergy. "Human," he growled. "You humiliated my kin. Today I erase that stain." Rena didn't respond. She just took her stance, quiet, still, eyes locked on his chest. The signal horn blared. The duel began. Korvac charged like a beast. The floor cracked under his steps. The crowd screamed. But Rena didn't move. She waited. At the last second, she turned slightly, letting his first swing slice through the air. She ducked under his arm and struck his side. One quick jab. He barely flinched. She didn't expect him to. He turned, roaring, his massive hand grabbing her shoulder. He threw her across the arena. She hit the ground hard but rolled up instantly, expression blank. The crowd gasped. A human shouldn't survive that throw. Korvac laughed. "You are small, human, weak." Rena tilted her head. "And yet you missed." The insult made him furious. He rushed again, fists like meteors. Rena's movements became faster. Sidestep, twist, counter. She struck pressure points, weak joints, the soft gap between armor plates. For minutes, the fight looked impossible, brute strength against perfect calm. Then a sound echoed through the arena, a sharp crack. Korvac froze, eyes wide. His arm went numb. His knees hit the ground. Rena stood behind him, whispering, "End of match." The entire arena went silent. And then chaos erupted, some cheering, some shouting, some fearing. The Tarnak clan leaders shouted in rage, but none could deny what they had seen. The human girl had done it again. In the stands, Commander Thal watched quietly. His communicator buzzed. A voice on the line said, "The council wants answers. Who is she, really?" Thal looked at Rena standing in the arena light, her eyes calm as glass. He whispered to himself, "That's what I'm trying to find out." The arena stayed silent long after the fight ended. Even the cheering stopped when Rena walked away, calm and expressionless, while the great Tarnak warrior lay defeated on the floor. The galactic crowd watching through hollow screens couldn't believe what they had just seen. A human girl had broken the pride of the Apex clan. Again, reporters across systems started broadcasting her name. "Rena Vale," they said. "The fearless human." Some called her a hero. Others called her a threat. Inside the academy, chaos grew. Tarnak cadets broke equipment and shouted in anger. "Humans are cheaters," one yelled. "They use forbidden tech," another added. But no one could prove anything. Every scan showed she carried no hidden device, no weapon. Just skill, pure and terrifying. Commander Thal called an emergency meeting. The hollow room glowed with the faces of alien leaders from different worlds. The Tarnak High Council's voice thundered through the speakers. "This duel was a disgrace. We demand the human be removed from the academy." Thal stood firm. "The duel was fair. Your warrior agreed to the terms." The Tarnak leader growled, "Then we will take action ourselves." When the call ended, Thal leaned back in his chair, worried. "They'll come for her," he muttered. Meanwhile, Rena sat alone in the academy garden. Artificial stars shone above the dome. She held a small silver tag in her hand, the only thing she had from Earth. The letters on it were scratched. ARS-01. She didn't show fear. She never did. But deep inside, something heavy stirred. Not fear, but memory. She remembered the scientists in white suits, the cold metal bed, the voice saying, "You don't need fear, Rena. You only need control." Suddenly, the sound of footsteps broke her thoughts. Instructor Garrick approached her slowly. His neck still had a faint mark from their first fight. He stood silently for a long moment, then said, "I hated you, human. But today I saw something I cannot hate." Rena looked up. "What's that?" "Honor," he said simply. She nodded once. "Then keep it. You'll need it soon." Garrick frowned. "What do you mean?" She turned her gaze back to the stars. "They won't stop with words. They'll come." That night, alarms blared through Nova Spire. Unidentified ships had entered the Academy sector, Tarnock war vessels. The war had just begun. The Academy's sky burned red as Tarnock ships broke through the defense field. Students ran through corridors as explosions shook the walls. The peaceful Academy had turned into a war zone. Commander Thal stood in the control room shouting orders. "Activate defense drones, evacuate the lower decks." The screens flashed, enemy troops landing on the surface. The Tarnock wanted one thing: Rena Vale. Rena watched the chaos from the training hall balcony. Alien students panicked, running for safety, but she stayed still, eyes focused. She had known this would happen. Instructor Garrick ran to her. "You were right, they're here for you." Rena nodded. "Then I'll meet them." He blocked her path. "No, you're just one soldier." "I'm not just a soldier," she said quietly. Without another word, she stepped into the hall. The doors opened and the night air rushed in, hot, filled with smoke and the hum of engines. Dozens of Tarnock warriors were already inside the Academy courtyard, armored and armed. Their leader shouted, "Human, you've dishonored us for the last time." Rena walked forward, unarmed. "You came all this way for one fight?" "For your head," the leader growled. The warriors charged. But Rena moved like a shadow, swift, efficient, unstoppable. Her strikes landed in silence, one after another. Every motion was measured, precise. A Tarnock fell with each step she took. The courtyard filled with sparks, roars, and the sound of armor crashing to the ground. From the command center, Thal watched the camera feed in disbelief. "She's fighting alone," he whispered, "and she's winning." Even Garrick, watching from above, could not move. The human girl, the one everyone laughed at, was now holding back an entire invasion. When the smoke cleared, Rena stood in the center, surrounded by fallen warriors. Her breathing was calm. Her eyes were cold. Only the Tarnock leader remained, wounded but standing. He dropped his weapon and looked at her. "What are you?" he asked. Rena tilted her head slightly. "I'm human," she said. "And that's enough." He collapsed to his knees, staring at her with fear. For the first time, a Tarnock understood what humans could be when they stopped fearing death. As emergency sirens faded, Commander Thal and his guards reached the battlefield. He stared at her in silence. "You saved the Academy," he said. Rena looked around at the ruins and the unconscious soldiers. "No," she replied. "I just stopped the first wave." He frowned. "First wave?" She pointed toward the sky. "More are coming, and above them, through the fading smoke, hundreds of red dots appeared, enemy dropships breaking through the clouds. The fight for Nova Spire was far from over." Rena closed her eyes for a brief second, whispering to herself, "Fear is gone. Only purpose remains." The Academy's sky burned red as Tarnock ships broke through the defense field. Students ran through corridors as explosions shook the walls. The peaceful Academy had turned into a war zone. Commander Thal stood in the control room shouting orders. Activate defense drones, evacuate the lower decks. The screens flashed, enemy troops landing on the surface. The Tarnock wanted one thing, Rena Vale. Rena watched the chaos from the training hall balcony. Alien students panicked, running for safety. But she stayed still, eyes focused. She had known this would happen. Instructor Garrick ran to her. "You were right, they're here for you." Rena nodded. "Then I'll meet them." He blocked her path. "No, you're just one soldier." "I'm not just a soldier," she said quietly. Without another word, she stepped into the hall. The doors opened and the night air rushed in, hot, filled with smoke and the hum of engines. Dozens of Tarnock warriors were already inside the academy courtyard, armored and armed. Their leader shouted, "Human, you've dishonored us for the last time." Rena walked forward, unarmed. "You came all this way for one fight?" "For your head," the leader growled. The warriors charged. But Rena moved like a shadow, swift, efficient, unstoppable. Her strikes landed in silence, one after another. Every motion was measured, precise. A Tarnock fell with each step she took. The courtyard filled with sparks, roars, and the sound of armor crashing to the ground. From the command center, Tal watched the camera feed in disbelief. "She's fighting alone," he whispered. "And she's winning." Even Garrick, watching from above, could not move. The human girl, the one everyone laughed at, was now holding back an entire invasion. When the smoke cleared, Rena stood in the center, surrounded by fallen warriors. Her breathing was calm. Her eyes were cold. Only the Tarnock leader remained, wounded but standing. He dropped his weapon and looked at her. "What are you?" he asked. Rena tilted her head slightly. "I'm human," she said. "And that's enough." He collapsed to his knees, staring at her with fear. For the first time, a Tarnock understood what humans could be when they stopped fearing death. As emergency sirens faded, Commander Thal and his guards reached the battlefield. He stared at her in silence. "You saved the academy," he said. Rena looked around at the ruins and the unconscious soldiers. "No," she replied. "I just stopped the first wave." He frowned. "First wave?" She pointed toward the sky. "More are coming," and above them, through the fading smoke, hundreds of red dots appeared, enemy dropships breaking through the clouds. The fight for Nova Spire was far from over. Rena closed her eyes for a brief second, whispering to herself, "Fear is gone. Only purpose remains." By dawn, the battle was over. The Tarnock ships retreated. The academy was in ruins, but it still stood. Commander Thal walked through the smoke-filled courtyard, where med drones carried the wounded. He stopped when he saw Rena sitting quietly near the shattered statue of Nova Spire's founder. She was injured but alive. Her eyes stared at the horizon, where the stars faded into morning. Thal sat beside her. "You saved us," he said softly. Rena didn't reply at first. "No," she said after a pause. "I just ended what Earth started." Thal frowned. "Will they come for you again?" "They already did," she whispered. "And they failed." He studied her carefully. "If what you said is true, humanity built something terrible." Rena gave a small, tired smile. "No. Humanity built something afraid of fear. But I learned that fear isn't weakness. It's what makes us fight to live." Far above, the hollow screens across the galaxy replayed the final footage. A human girl standing alone amid fire, 3 dead Ares soldiers behind her, and an alien army retreating. Every world saw it. Every species talked about it. And every leader started asking the same question. If one human could do this, Kelly, what if Earth sent an army? Within hours, galactic councils called emergency meetings. Military powers doubled their defenses. Treaties were rewritten. The message was clear. Humans were no longer the weakest species in the stars. In her room, Rena packed what little she had. She didn't say goodbye to anyone. Garrick tried to stop her, but she only said, "They'll never stop hunting me. And if I stay, they'll come for all of you." He nodded, understanding. Where will you go? Rena looked out the window at the rising sun. Home, or what's left of it. She left quietly, her ship vanishing into the sky. Days later, when cleanup crews searched the courtyard, they found something carved into the metal floor where she had fought. 4 words burned deep by plasma heat. Humanity adapts. Remember that. Those words spread faster than any battle report. Some saw them as a warning. Others saw them as a promise. And far away, on the silent blue planet called Earth, someone watched the broadcast and smiled. A shadowed voice spoke softly. She survived. Good. The galaxy isn't ready for all of us yet. The screen flickered off. Somewhere in the void, the legend of Rena Vale had just begun.